thanks for joining my video. This is a quick tutorial on how to do a mini fringe earring. So it's a speedy fringe design. It has some speed ups in both the brick stitch and in the fringe stringing portions of the design. I've used a couple of techniques that I like to use, which is a short, long strand fringe pattern, which makes things go faster for starters and look layered. So you get kind of a full design that stitches up twice as fast. So if you're looking to make fringe earrings in bulk, patterns like this are going to be the go-to. The way that I'm going to start the design speeds up those first two rows and makes them extra tall. And then the way to finish them with that loop is super easy. So definitely a go-to. Feel free to sub beads. In summary, you're just going to need some 11/0 and 6/0. I'll go through that in more detail on the mat, but very, very easy fringe design, size B nylon beading thread. This was one of the featured designs in our October bead box. So if you're a fan of my project boxes, this was October's, and we've already done a bunch of designs. This is I believe the fourth one. Yeah, this is our fourth video. There's going to be one more I'll show you at the end of the video if you want to catch that. But then we'll be wrapping up our stash of beads from October's bead box. So time for the next one, right? If you would like the next one, that one is already on sale. Check my description for links to everything, including patterns. The one I'm showing you today will be in the pattern description as well. All right, let's dive in. Hey guys, here's all of the materials with the exception of the jump rings and ear wires that we're going to be using. So it's a really simple list of ingredients. You just need some 11/0 seed beads and some 6/0 seed beads. If you don't have 6/0 seed beads, you could also substitute fire polish beads and any really 4mm-ish size bead, like a little gemstone, something like that. Size B nylon thread is going to be really nice for the fringe. I am using a white because it's a nice contrast, or not contrast, but a nice blend with my mix. And so I will hold it up to make sure you're able to see. And that is what I used on this one. So I just wanted to match what I did. So in order to get started, we're going to cut a length of beading thread that's going to be a combination of what we'll use for the brick stitch and for the fringe. So you'll need a total of 65 to 70 inches. And we're going to be leaving 40 to 45 inches of that behind as a tail. So I'm going to go ahead and measure and cut that. So go ahead and thread on a beading needle and fold over about 10 inches of your thread just to make it a really manageable length. And then again, you're going to leave the bottom. So start from the side your needle is not on and just measure roughly 40 inches from that end and just pinch it. And then go ahead and start your beadwork here. So our tail is going to be this 40-inch side, and our working side is over here with our needle on it. So to start, we're going to be working a really interesting, and forgive that this is printed black and white. Yours will be in color, but the structure is what matters, and the bead colors are selected at random. But we're going to be stringing in sets of 3 what's going to be essentially a total of 9 beads. So any color you want. There's my 9 beads. Slide that down to where I've been pinching, which is my tail marker here. And at this spot here, which you'll want to do, and you just want to identify those top 3. There we go. And head back up through those 3. There we go. So you should have 3 and 3 and 3, and they're going to sit in a peyote stitch configuration, just like that. Hold everything tight. In fact, what I do is I kind of have the tail thread wrapped around my hand a few times. I've got this peyote start pinched in my fingers, and I'm going to pick up 3 more beads. Oops. Just 1, 2, and 3. And with these 3, I'm going to go through these 3 right here. You see there's like a white, topaz white. Pull my thread tightly. And you see I've created a peyote stitch. So this is what's called single column peyote, and it's being worked in a 3-drop configuration. So now you pick up 3 more and head back through these top 3 right here. These are the 3 we just added in the last, well, you could call it a row because that's really what it is. It's the last row. So now we have 2 on top and 3 on the bottom. And in our pattern, we're going for a total of 7 on the bottom and 6 on the top. So let's complete that out. Here's 1, 2, 3. Go through those last 3. And if you'd like, you can always take the thread that's exiting from the last stitch you did and tighten it really quick, all while kind of holding that beadwork in your hand. Then when you do that, it's so nice because it tightens everything up for you. So there's 3. Three more. There's 3 more. Go through the last 3. And again, just pinch everything in your hand like this. Pull that needle through. And if you see that it's getting loose like that on you, pull the last stitch tightly and then finish the new stitch. And it tightens it right up for you. So I'm just going to finish the last set really quick. Just keeping an eye on the bottom for my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then bring the needle through the last 3. If at any point along the way you want to lock in the tightness that you're creating here, you can bring your needle back through an adjacent stack of 3. So like that. Pull that through. And then head this way. So you just made a loop through those beads, and what it does is it tightens up everything for you. It's 1, 2, and 3. One, 2, and 3. And let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's number 7. All right, and bring this through. All right, so 7 on the bottom and 6 on the top. Lock in both of these edges. So take the working thread you've got in our hand. You want to go down through that stack of beads and up through the ones that you just went through. That locks in this side. Now go ahead and get the tail. On the tail side, it's going to be super long. And just for now, string on a needle temporarily. And do the same thing with the side that we did with the other, where you're going to go and lock in the edge. But this time, remember where we want this tail to start working. We want it to start creating fringe from the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I went down through those 3, and I'm going to go down through the set that is 3 in from the edge here, right? This is going to give me an ability to turn. Head up through this one. And down through these 3. And then you can just set aside that tail for now. That's going to become our fringe. There it is. Oh, sorry about the focus there. So let's start doing some brick stitch. So what I like to do when I'm brick stitching is I do work from left to right. And so I'll flip the work in my hand to sit like that. And I'm going to start working in single bead brick stitch. So we're going to pick up a bead, go under the thread bridge, and go up for the bead for the entire row. We're going to add a total of 5 beads in that way. So here's my first bead. And I'm going to make a point of picking up a white bead because I'm using white thread. And that way my thread will blend with that bead. You only really need to worry about that on the edges. It's the only place your thread might show. And feel free to do a 2-bead start if you prefer. I just like to do 1-bead starts. That's just my brick stitch kind of go-to. That's what my hand likes to do. Here's 2. Here's 3. And 4. And here's number 5. Okay, flip your work. Let's create a row with all 4 beads. So this time I picked up a bead, going under the first thread bridge. There's 1. 2. 3. Here's number 4. All right, so we only have 1 more row to go. Let me just show you the pattern really quick. We just did those 4. And the next step is we're going to create a row with just 3. And then we're going to make a loop of 6 seed beads and reinforce that loop around. So again, I'm starting with a white bead just to hide my thread because I like doing a single bead brick stitch row start. And that's completely up to you if you like that. You can always do a 2-bead start if you prefer. Two and 3. There, doesn't that look nice? It's really nicely done. All right, so let's just grab a random 6 beads. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And skip the middle bead and go down through the bead that's on the other side of the row. So it's going to put a bead out of the first and third bead in that top row. And so you're going to get a loop that looks like that. To reinforce it, you want to go down through one of these beads here, up through an adjacent, and then up through that bead and the loop above. And just like that. I'm going to reinforce that at least once more. And there's that loop reinforced. Now you can go ahead and weave in your strand at this point. Whatever you've got left, you can just go through some beads. And keep in mind, you want to just go in the brick stitch path. So for these first few rows, we've just got the 1, and then you start having stacks of 3. And it's going to put me right down here. I can make a turn. And so that's probably pretty good. You can trim that there. And now I'm going to start working on my fringe. So let's pop a needle. Actually, I've already got a needle on my other strand. And that was my tail thread that I left hanging out here at the beginning steps. And so the pattern for this is a repeat of 2 different strands, a long and a short strand. The long strands are the edges of the earring, and the short strands become the 3 in the spaces in between. So you'll have 4 long and 3 short. So start with a long strand on an edge by stringing 21 11 in random colors. All right, so there's 21. And now we get to bring on these size 6 seed beads. I'm just going to put some of those there. So you'll want to string one of the 6-0 and then space it with an 11-0 Do that for a total of 3. End with an 11-0. So you'll have this little jump of 3 size 6 seed beads, spaced by 11-0 and ending with an 11-0 that you're going to skip when you head back through all the beads here. Make sure you don't miss your seed beads, especially when you're heading through in between the 6-0s. It's really easy to skip them. We'll head up through all of these beads here. There we go. There's our fringe strand. And when you reach the beadwork, go ahead and go through the 3 beads that make up that row there. So you'll go through all 3 of those. To make your fringe have good tension, you can pinch the 11-0 that's at the very end. As you pull that thread through, let go right at the end there. You'll have good fringe tension. Make a turn and head down through the next column of 3. And now we're going to do a short strand. That only has 13 of the 11-0s at random. And then you start that same sequence with the 6-0 and an 11-0, 6-0, 11-0, and 6-0, and then 11-0. Skip the last 11-0 and go through all of those beads. Try not to miss any of your 11s. And then continue up through the beadwork. Through those 3 beads. Same trick as we did before. To make our fringe have really good tension, you just pinch that last bead and pull. So there's your first 2 fringe strands. These will go quick because they're nice and mini. Turn to the adjacent. And now you're going to string a long strand. So do this to the end. Long strand, short strand, long strand, short strand, ending with a long strand. And then I'll show you how to weave in and we'll put on our findings. So there goes the last fringe strand. And that's pretty much the design right there. So you have these beautiful layers of fringe and they kind of overlap on each other. And the same thing we did earlier to weave in, we're just going to want to go through some beads. Weave through a few. You've got a lot of extra thread. I always go a little over whenever I measure threads and put those in tutorials because I feel like sometimes we like having that extra length. This is another opportunity to fix things as well. If you see little spots in your beadwork where you want things to be a little tighter, you can weave around and get there through your turns here. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm just going to trim that thread. There we go. And there's your earring. Isn't it cute? Let's put on some findings. First, we're going to need some jump rings. I went ahead and gave it a little bit of wiggle by putting 2 jump rings on. Did that for a couple of reasons. I didn't want to put the ear wire directly on the loop, mainly because the ear wire's loops are a little small. But the other reason I did that is because it gives you a little bit more height on the earring. So let me start with the jump rings. I like to use a flat square nose plier. And then I'm just digging around to find my bent nose pliers. They look like this. So they have a little bend in them. So this is what I do for jump rings. Everybody kind of has their own jump ring style. This is just kind of my go-to. We'll pop that loop onto the first jump ring and close it. So just like that. Make sure your jump ring is really closed nicely. This one is the one that is most important. Here's our ear wire. The jump ring is open, so we're going to go ahead and put that right on the loop there. It doesn't really have a front or a back, so no worries. Put that ear wire on either way. And there you go, start to finish, how to make this gorgeous earring. And so when you're wearing it, so right now if I was to lay it on the mat, for example, what you'll see are these cool layers like that. And you can see that, kind of how it's done. But when they're on, when they're hanging, the short ones just tend to like kind of hover in the front of the longer ones, and it looks layered. It's a cool, like kind of like a cool effect. So if I can get it to do that on the mat, it's something like that when they're being worn. So they really do look super cool, like kind of like a little layered sandwichy kind of thing happening like that. So I hope you love them, and I will catch you for the next video, which is going to be the last official October box video. And then at that point, I think you guys will be getting through most of those beads, and it's going to be time for another round of projects on the next one. But let me show you what I've got going so far. Check out my channel later in the week for the video on how to use the larger 8/0 finding in a odd count peyote design. And this one was one that I started just to kind of get the counts right. I'm probably going to do a little different pattern going on from here. But I'll show you how I got it to fit the finding, which is the main gold layer. And again, what those are, they were in the October box. And if you're looking for them otherwise, they're called this. They're called a Maronia to 8/0 bead ending from Symbol Beadsmith. And they work with 8/0 seed beads. Today we were working with 11/0 seed beads and 6/0. And that's everything in a nutshell. So I'll see you for the next video.